Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in the world. This is Jock here, and this is 21 Virtues. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about what is a spiritual warrior. This is a question that I got asked just last week on what my definition of a spiritual warrior is, because that's exactly what we're talking about. And if you haven't, got the last episode, which was with E.J. Snyder, the godfather of Naked and Afraid, then jump back and listen to that. We'll be right back in just a moment, and we'll get straight into it. God bless. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jock here, and we're going to jump straight into today's episode. This is the second episode in the second series, or the third series, I can't remember what it is. And we're going to talk about what is a spiritual warrior, and what is your definition of a spiritual warrior. You see, many people, when they actually think about a warrior, they think about someone who is strong, albeit a female or a male who has military connections, who is an expert with weapons, who is strong in stature as well, who is a defender of everything that is right. And of course, that may be true in certain maybe belief systems or certain perceptions, that we identify a warrior as someone who is invincible, someone who is capable, someone who has got skills beyond most people. But when it comes to being a spiritual warrior, this is a little bit different, because we know that warriors, even, let's go back in time to ancient times. You have gladiators that were warriors. Marcus Aurelius, who was a warrior, was emperor, but yet he was very spiritual, right? And then you have Native Americans who are very spiritual but have great skills in battle, and samurai who were incredibly tough warriors, and knights back in Old England who were incredible warriors. They were adept with weapons, they were adept with strategy and skill. But there's something else about them, ladies and gentlemen. Something else about them is that they lived by different virtues. They lived by virtues that made them more of a spiritual warrior. And so what a spiritual warrior is an individual who is a warrior of the mind, who is always developing and trying to control the mind, not for the betterment of themselves, but so that they can serve humanity in a greater way. You see, it doesn't matter how skilled you are with weapons, or it doesn't matter how skilled you are in fitness or anything like that, or a fighter that makes you a great warrior. What makes you a great warrior is being able to understand the spiritual values and principles that actually operate the world, of understanding virtues like compassion and love and forgiveness, and being able to be that warrior in the mind. So that spiritual warrior idea that we take from ancient warriors, we run with it in the modern world, and we can see that there's more people are spiritual warriors than we think. For instance, just the other day, I was listening. I came across some posts of a woman who I absolutely believe is a spiritual warrior, because why? She has is what people perceive as a disablement. She has a condition that causes her to be registered disabled. And while many people will see that as an affliction, personally I see that as being differently abled rather than disabled. But what was really compelling about this individual was that she utilized her, if you like, differently abled status to serve others. That's what makes her a spiritual warrior, because she took what people perceived as an affliction and she used her different ablement, if you like, to be able to inspire others that may have the same condition as she, to be able to educate others not only on what the condition is, but on different aspects of life. And that to me is a spiritual warrior. A spiritual warrior is someone who values others, not just themselves. We have to value ourselves, but a spiritual warrior is a person who is a warrior of the mind, who watches what comes into their mind and what goes out of their mind. That their first dedication or their first passion is in service to humanity. You know, there's a great saying by a great spiritual guide that goes something like this: the greatest gift that you can give humanity is the gift of service. And I believe that with all my heart. And I believe that whilst we have a place for warriors, special forces, military, I've been military myself, and there's an element where we need that toughness. We need to be able to go above and beyond and, you know, go through times that many people can't. But a spiritual warrior does that as well. You know, if we look at Native Americans, they had a really a deep connection with nature, as you know, other warriors and other indigenous tribes had this connection with nature. Their spirituality helped them understand the universe and understand nature in a greater way. And so, a spiritual warrior is someone who's able to discern their mind, discern the particular energies that are coming forth in their mindset, to be able to serve others, to be aware of what is in their mind and what comes out their mouth, and how they serve without a condition, that they're not looking to gain something from their service for themselves in selfishness, but also to be able to serve others without a condition in order to make their lives better. I think that's a great thing that we see from samurais, a great thing that we see from ancient warriors such as knights, you know, back in the day. If we learn these virtues, if you like, these virtues of warriorship to make our lives better, you know, so many lessons that we're supposed to learn in life, we negate. We don't learn them because our mind is elsewhere, and our mind is focused on the material reality and whatever we can get in the material world. That's not spiritual warriorship. And spiritual warriorship is not about fighting the evil dragons and demons rather than the ones that are inside of you. That's where that comes into play. And how we understand, you know, perhaps a great virtue of a spiritual warrior is having deep compassion and understanding, not judging. A warrior doesn't judge. I know in my 21 Virtues program, we go through 21 different virtues that makes a warrior, a spiritual warrior, and it changes people's lives, because we're not just looking at the skills that we develop in battle. We're not looking at the skills that we developed to make us more powerful above others. We are looking at how we can serve in a greater capacity by learning those virtues, by understanding that our words can cut like the sword, that our thoughts can also destroy an individual as well as yourself, but that we have a greater choice as spiritual warriors to choose a higher vibration, to be more compassionate and more understanding, to not judge someone when you see something and you have a discernment that that's perhaps maybe where they are at this moment in time. That is maybe their understanding. And to be able to serve in prayer, to be able to stand up for what is right, to seek justice where there's injustice. And that doesn't mean battling where there's injustice. That means coming to a level of understanding. That means seeing another person's side, trying to visualize you walking a mile in their shoes. A spiritual warrior is constantly developing their inner awareness, to be aware of not only their interconnectedness to all of life, to be aware of the interconnectedness they have to each other, and to use their virtues to develop their soul and to help others develop their soul through the experiences that we share. So a spiritual warrior is more than you can ever imagine. It is not just about, as I said at the beginning, the battle, the fight, the skill that we have. Often skills are temporary, but it's about the fortitude that we have inside of our souls and our spirit. We don't just think kindness, but we show acts of kindness. We employ acts of kindness in service to others, in service to humanity, not in service to ourselves. We understand divine laws and divine principles. Because in reality, nothing exists without divine law. We don't exist. Nothing without having a divine power, we don't exist. It is divine power that brought us through into reality, into this world. The same divine force that animates all of life, animates everything, from the thought to the tree that grows, to your friend that you communicate with. We are all animated by that same spiritual force. So a spiritual warrior understands this. Spiritual warrior is a person who seeks to understand themselves and their connection to a greater reality and understanding divine law. I was listening to a show the other day, a great friend of mine, Chris, and someone had obviously asked him, does he always just talk about divine? Is everything divine? Well, in reality, yes, it is. Everything is divine. Because as I just said, you don't exist without the divine. Whether you believe it or not, if the divine wasn't there, we would not exist. We would not have the power of choice. We would not be able to forgive. We would not be able to show compassion. We would not be able to be kind. Without the divine, we are nothing. From the divine, the formless becomes form. And a spiritual warrior understands that. And they try to manifest the good from the divine authority that they have inside of them to serve others. That's what a spiritual warrior is, ladies and gentlemen. A spiritual warrior makes this world a better place. Doesn't matter if you're a CEO of a company, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a parent, you can still be a spiritual warrior. If you're an individual who have overcome adversity, such as the lady that I witnessed the other day, you're a spiritual warrior. Especially if you fight to serve others in order to make this world a better place. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what I believe a spiritual warrior is. And I know this is a short podcast. This is a short episode because it doesn't actually require a long discussion about what it is. You'll know in your own heart what this is. But join me next week as you meet another one of my fellow spiritual warriors, Walt McKinley, author of Monsters in My House. I believe that's the name. I've read the book. It's absolutely phenomenal. I'm looking forward to chatting to my friend again and bringing you more warrior tips and virtues from him and from me. So God bless, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening in. And if you've got any questions, then please reach out to me. And remember, be the spiritual warrior you were always meant to be. Develop the mind, the body, the soul. God bless.